performance. We really like to know what's really going on. So hello to all. I'm also the initiator for the drama festival. Right now we are looking at this is a modern dance. And this is the modern dance that choreographed by the dancer. So the choreography is right now this dancer. So we would like to talk about what is the inspiration behind. So this is modern dance. So right now this is a show going on. We don't know whether actually they are making something from this form or this is a way of creation. But for us, we talk about actually this is based on our actual day-to-day life. And also talk about a human being and the environment, the harmonious coexisting. We talk about environment or nature through different forms and movement. We would really like to know the inspiration behind, because we know this is a modern dance and they talk about a relationship between human being and nature. We talk about festival, of course, that include all different kinds of forms. This is really pioneer and very advanced. And we talk about actually this just happened anywhere. Even you can see this is a stage. And look at their performance. So they moved the show to this water pond, and we can tell actually they just perfectly match each other. So that's we talk about we bring the show here because we bring our audience another or talk about different experience to enjoy the show. It's raining today. If it's a sunny day, that will be another experience. We talk about actually they feel some challenges. Actually, this is what I feel through their performance. Actually, for each people, they have different interpretation. We really actually the artist may be different from the viewers. Of course, people have their different understandings. Every understanding, there's no right or wrong understanding. We just talk about actually based on their performance, just really to understand or really have your own interpretation. I believe this is what artists want to convey through their performance. And talk about this year, actually, we have a lot of the performance, the troops from other countries, and the festival actually lasts for 3 days, and today is the closing day. So tell us a little bit about these 3 days. This is our third year to have this drama festival, and this is the drama happening in Chongqing, and it took place from June 7th to 9th, and it consists over 300 performances featuring dance, the street art, opera, theater. So we have the dance, just we just saw, that's the modern dance, and we also have acrobatic arts. So we can tell Nanbin International Drama Festival is really rich in content. So in 2015, we participated in Wuzhen. international festival. Actually, we saw different kinds of forms of art. So we actually back then we represent Chongqing. Then we really think about how we can bring all these to Chongqing, and finally we found this really perfect place because this is really unique. We talk about right now, actually the performance venue is a distinct traditional 9-floor architecture. So here is really different. You can tell this is really full of culture, full of history, and you can tell here this is a place you can view the river, you can go up the mountain, and also actually here have the quite unique landform of Chongqing because Chongqing is a mountain city. So we talk about actually different floor of architecture represents different will, and we also design based on the different level of landform for different performance. So this is really unique and highlight part. So we talk about this is actually restored architecture. And we can tell actually along our route, that's also the history of Chongqing. So we talk about actually this is a performance or the drama international festival happened in a restored historic venue. So that's really would like to see some chemicals happened between the modern and history part, the old and new. So we talk about actually these full of history. We look at all these parts. So we're quite near the bank of Yangtze River. And this is the earliest commercial street in Chongqing. And here we can see the river, and actually this place back then is the port that connecting land and water route. So we talk about actually this place is quite fertile land for foreign trade. Talk about this street. Back then, this already very busy, and we talk about this is originally a port. We have the commercial ships back and forth. And for now, we talk about it started from the mid-Qing dynasty. And 150 years ago, it reached the peak time. And actually, along our way, we can see the different embossment. And from this different embossment, actually, that's really restore or actually tell us a picture for old days. For old days, that's maybe tell about the story of like the trade exchange, talk about the people's day-to-day life. So for Chongqing, actually, you can tell this is a nice floor architecture. This is a restored old-fashioned street. There are hundreds of different stories, historical stories here. And I believe I heard the sound of drums. I believe there's a show waiting for us, right? So there's a platform, and that platform can help us to view the beauty of Chongqing. And we also have the art troupe from the UK. I believe right now the show is on. So according to my knowledge, there are many international artists coming here. We have 8 countries and more than a dozen of foreign artists actually participate this year's International Drama Festival. So talk about the scope of the International Drama Festival. For Chongqing, for this mountain city, or for the southwest part of China, this is a really quite unique way to show the beauty of performance, especially the different forms of art, different forms of culture, and also we have the international troops to participate as well. So we talk about this is really unique. So let's look at. We have a show. That's a show actually performed by the UK performers. So let's see your show so we can see the fishes. So let's see what's the show or why we have all these fishes. So when the show starts? So only perform indoor or can perform outside?
Great, yes.
A short interview. So came from China Central Television. So we are interested about what means about fish fandango. That's right. Fandango it comes from Spanish dance. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Can you tell us how about this drummer? So what means about this drummer?
Fish fandango. Yes, fandango is a Spanish word that means party, celebration. And the fish are all about having a party in the streets. They're very curious. They're quite naughty. They like to interrupt things.
Yeah, curious.
They're very curious
right.
fish.
Yeah.
And they like to have fun.
Oh.
Fandango is a Spanish word, and fish. Fandango is a Spanish word,
Spanish
and
word.
Scotland and Catalonia have very strong links for street theatre. So Serge, the company that I work for, have a strong connection with Catalonia, and so Spanish is something that connects us.
Yeah. 您给我翻译一下好吗？刚才那个梅兰妮导演跟我们说了好多啊。
所以 fandango 这
So
个
this
词
is
它是来自
director
于西班牙文。
Medina. So we talk about actually the show is a fish fandango, and fandango actually is a Spanish word. A Spanish word. So we talk about actually this is also inspired by
街上非常的好奇游玩那个
Spain. We talk about all the fishes. Actually, they're quite naughty and they're quite curious about all the things. So when the show will on,
就是这样，就是表演是吗？
the show actually already on.
So I'm so interested about another question. So the artist inspiration, as usual, where is it start from? So.
Well, inspiration comes from lots of places. It could be from a place or a person or a situation.
所以就是灵感可以来自于非常非常多的地方，比如说一个人。
Actually, inspiration can come from anywhere. We talk about any individual, any place. That all can be the inspiration.
And so a lot of my inspiration comes from if something makes me laugh, then I hope it will make other people laugh.
所以他的灵感，比如说，例如说，他的灵感就来自于他非常的喜欢喜剧，所以就是很多东西，假如说能够让他开心，他觉得就可以作为一个灵感的来源。
So another question. So, do you think what the differences between this festival and other festivals in China or in the world?
Well, this is very exciting because this is the first time Serge have been to China, and Chongqing is our very first Chinese festival. So I don't know any other Chinese festivals, I'm afraid.
So how about in the world?
In the world, so I'm from Scotland, and we have a big tradition of festivals. There are hundreds of festivals in Scotland, and the largest arts festival in the world, the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. And my company Surge, we run a festival in Glasgow as well, which is happening next month. And because we have a very strong tradition of festivals, we're very used to it. So actually seeing some big fish walk down the street is kind of normal in Scotland. Whereas here, it feels like people are very surprised and excited.
I think especially for children, right? Yeah.
That's right, because this is a new festival.
Okay.
好，所以这也是他第一次到重庆，然后到中国。
So for the director, so the first time for her to come to China, for Chongqing, and also this is the first drama festival for her to attend in China. But talk about actually she's from Scotland. And they actually have that tradition for half the art or drama festival. So it's quite normal to see the fishes just perform in the street. But in China, this is still quite unique. So how to have that interaction?
How?
Yeah.
The whole act is about interacting with the audience. This is the entire thing. Without the audience, the act doesn't exist. And so when we work with performers, and we've worked with 5 amazing performers in Chongqing from the 303 Theatre, really brilliant performers, and we have taught them improvisation and play and how to create games, as you see. And then they use these skills to play with the audience, so nothing is planned.
Okay.
所以他们整个戏剧就是关于一个互动的一个戏
So
剧
talk about the
所
whole
以
performance axis. The core thing is about interaction. That's the core performance or the content.
所以如果说这个剧如果没有观众的参与的话，这个剧是不成立的。
So quite dramatic because without audience, they cannot call it a performance. So they also work with the 303. They have a lot of chemical happened.
什么样的互动是非常常见的，或者说很
What kind of interaction is quite normal or anything quite special for interaction?
What kind of interaction is common?
Yeah.
Well, the fish really love to dance, and they really
dance with them
oh
together,
yeah, of
yes,
course.
right?
So they love it when they start to dance, and then the audience starts to dance, and then soon everyone is dancing. This is their favorite thing, and a beautiful thing to see a whole square of people dancing, starting with just some fish.
所以互动的方式最常见的就是和
We talk about the normally seen interaction is dance because the fishes love dance so much. So you can see they dance and the audience so happy and they dance together.
不知道这个Melanie 有没有一些什么新的就是
So for director Melanie, whether you have any new feelings or inspirations from this festival?
I feel like Chongqing is something I've never experienced before. This city is very different from Scotland and the UK, and so I've had so many new experiences and things that I've seen and tastes. Hot pot being one of them. Yeah. And what's been really inspiring is how different the audiences are, and so I really love to make a new piece, based on what the reaction of the Chinese audiences has been like.
所以这次本身这趟旅程也是
So for her, because this is her first time to China, so she had a lot of inspirations.
火锅
We talk about the food, hot pot for sure. And also we talk about, because the Chinese audience feedback is quite different, so she will really bring everything back to Glasgow.
interview. Have a nice day and good luck. So can you show us your dancer, please? Yeah, show a little dance. Yeah. Uh-huh. 就是其实我们可以看到哈，就是他们现在所在的这个位置，就是刚才
So we can see
你提到了重庆这座城市，其实
as the director Melanie introduced, because Chongqing is quite different, especially quite different from her background in the UK. So actually, this is actually a platform. It's an amazing platform. So the gentleman is curator from the Three Gorges Museum. And we talk about actually this place is quite unique because we're quite near the Yangtze River. The place we are now, this is a viewing platform. And we talk about this is waterway. Actually, it's very busy. You can see a lot of ships because this is the way to reach other regions. And also, this is a really busy place, busy port for commercial purpose. And there also quite a lot of stories happened in this area. And we talk about Da Yu, that's a historical figure because he really dedicated himself to treat the water issues, the flooding issues in China. And we talk about Da Yu actually also married with the daughter of Tuoshan God. So we talk about this, the ancient story. And that also starts the way of making himself the king. I'm coming to the recent years. So this back to the 19th century. This place is also quite advanced because it's a busy commercial port for international trade exchange. We talk about this actually can be considered as a development zone. And this is also playing a pivotal role in logistic front. And we talk about the southern part is quite the rich area. We look downstream. So there's a port called Guoyuan Port. That's the place to connect the BRI and also the Yangtze River. So this is a perfect place. Actually, you can really really see all the different important parts. So we talk about upstream, we talk about downstream. This is a place to connecting the Belt and Road, and also we talk about the place connecting north, south, as well as west and east. So today is quite a cloudy day. Let's also see another beauty of Chongqing. I believe this is quite normal, right? So we talk about maybe we not really like this kind of weather condition, but we talk about that this really helped to cover Chongqing, especially back to the wartime. So we talk about actually back then for the Japanese invaders. They really want to drop bombs to Chongqing, but actually Chongqing was covered fully by clouds, they couldn't find
你
Chongqing.
刚好说到这个，我知道有个雾季公演是吧？
说对了。
啊，然后当时的那个时候，就是全国最好的戏剧、最先锋的戏剧都在这里汇集，是吧？啊，
正好这个事儿你说问着了。我在
And we talk about the pioneer drama.
80年代重庆开始的，
We talk about a lot of actually these kind of dramas happened in Chongqing.
包括当时的金华门，就当年的金华门，这个时候又回来了。我说的这是金华是在上海的，
对，我知道。
哎，就他们在这一群也一批人都回来了，因为是雾季，所以那个公演非。
So we talk about the pioneer drama actually also enjoyed the favorable condition in Chongqing that also attracted a lot of talent and big names in the field to Chongqing.
编剧团，正好在我们的话剧团有一个这个抗战时候的戏剧博物馆，我也是那个馆的参与者、筹建者，已经正式开馆了。前几上，
And we also have a museum.
所以重庆的历史作为文化形成一个高峰是抗战，抗战
Let's also talk about the anti-war stories and also how drama developed in the wartime.
各民主党派这些集中在这儿。后来我们在想，为什么选重庆作为部呢？
So we talk about why we choose
结实
Chongqing.
大岩石，
很隐蔽，而且
整体
We talk about actually Chongqing that the terrain is really different. We talk about actually Chongqing built on rocks, really large size of rocks. So basically, we can tell Chongqing have a very solid foundation.
回到刚才你说的雾气工业，所以重庆有
And we talk about Chongqing is very open and inclusive. And we also have that tradition of drama. We talk about actually people in the drama field.
黄金时代。
那这个
They knew
领导
that
在
actually
这个
Chongqing
这个
experienced the
中国
peak
近代
time
戏
or
剧
the
的
peak
这个发源地
creation
哈然后
time.
做这次这个国际的戏剧节。那好的，这个谢谢谢谢这个王馆长。然后待会儿我们接着聊，我们正好跟袁导正好说到戏剧这个事儿，我们往下接着看。
So back to
然后我
drama,
是知道
right?
然后这一次是很多就是各种各样不同类别的戏剧都到这里来。然后目前为止
So we know this time we have different forms of
剧
performance.
或者说哪种类型的剧，在这种街头
So
表
we
演
talk about
这种
which
形式
kind
当
of
中是最受观众欢迎的。
street performance
总的来说哈，
most popular among the audience.
并不是从单一层面来去考虑这个问题的，因为有一些不同类型的，像
So this cannot be evaluated from one single perspective.
重要的一个问题是，我们
And also different forms of performance cannot compare to each other.
突破性，比如说刚才你看到胡闹的鱼儿，
And actually, you look at the fishes, that the fishes fandango, actually, that's really unique way of creation. They not just have a very simple show and bring that here to Chongqing. Actually, they co-create the show with our performance from Chongqing. So this really helped them to localize their performance, to provide a way of international cooperation, so they know each other better. So
刚才我们之前看到
we talk about
那个剧目，它其实重要的
the
最终
modern
让
dance.
观众有多喜欢，它其实
We talk about we not really like the audience to really love the modern art. Actually, through the modern art, we really liked the audience to think. And this is what we want to achieve. This is the actual ultimate goal we want to achieve. Through different kinds of performance, of course, we're not really
作用是非常大的。我们
expect the audience to love all different kinds of shows. We actually to think about actually this is the way to create a performance, and that is also a way to create performance. We not really limit ourselves in the box. We just think everything outside the box. That's also actually through different kinds of performance, through different inspirations. We want our audience to really think outside the box and also to think
问题哈，就是因为我知道，就是
based on our performance, based on the show.
形式来说，其实这种受众特别的重要哈。 是受众就是他的审美，他是有这个一定的
Talk about
这个倾向
audience.
性的，是吧？那如果说
They have their
说这种
own
艺术家
preference,
或
for
者是
sure.
是去探索就是这种特别先锋的。
So we
然后
talk about actually, we talk about this pioneer
这个超
show,
前的
pioneer
阶段这个观
performance
众承受
were
范围的
really
然后
quite
这种
advanced way
那
of
会让就是这个
performance,
我就很担心哈，就是
quite, or let me say, quite disruptive
在的时
way.
间我就怕维持
So
不
the
了多久
audience
特别
really
担心这个艺术家们
appreciate
坚持不下去会不会
the performance.
所以我们这个戏剧节还有一个非常重要的责任，那就是帮助这些艺术家。
So that's also another responsibility for us is we really need to build up the platform for our performance to show their performance. So we talk about actually we provide the theaters, we provide the environment, we provide the training house for all the performance for them to cultivate more different shows. And so this is our responsibility. So look at actually the magic show or the acrobatic arts. That's a really traditional one. And we also give the opportunity to the university students in Chongqing, so they can bring their own show here. And we really have the competition, so the best ones will receive financial support. And we also actually have a opportunity to provide to the public. So as long as you love the art, you really want to show your passion on the stage, then we show you the stage. We give you the opportunity to let you perform on the stage. So for our Theater 303, actually a private theater, and we start to sell tickets. So we really want to pay back to the public. Actually, we build up the different house for the amateurs to practice or train their own performance.
刚刚我们看到的都是现代的或者说超现实主义的，然后现在的好像是一出古典剧。
So right now we look at the classical show, right? So this is actually through our youth cultivation program. This is actually a amateur. So they have before had the difficulties not funding the training place, and they also not have the professionals to giving them the instructions or help them to improve their show. So we provide help to them. So we also invite this group of amateurs to perform here. And they just perform a part of a drama, and also look at their also with quite advanced or modern lighting.
那他讲的到底是一个什么样的故事呢？
So what kind of story they're telling?
白蛇传里面的一个故事，然后做的一个改编，他把小七那个
And this is the
法
a
海还有那个许仙
Madam Whitesnake. That's the a quite well-known story in China. So they actually would like to really find out
哎，我就好奇
the value and the meaning of love.
看得懂吗？
So
就是一般的
I'm
观众
wondering, actually, you're professional, right? You can understand what they're talking about. But for ordinary audience, can they really understand what the performance talking about? Maybe the audience have some difficulties to understand exactly the message the performers want to convey through their performance, because still the audience just saw the part of the show. But if the show actually on the stage,
大概占到
I believe the audience have no problem to understand the message behind.
重庆的
For these kind of amateurs, actually, we talk about this take up 10% of the overall performance, and we also talk about universities. They also have their drama clubs, so they also have their preparations, and we have the competitions. So we talk about they have right now 6 performances and will be on the stage for all 3 days. So talk about our young generations. So we provide these kind of theaters, stage to them. That's also based on our own experience. We talk about actually these kind of programs really actually give the benefit to us because we really know the advantage of this kind of youth cultivation program. We talk about why Chongqing doesn't have one. So that is the reason behind we created this program. We would like to create this performance for the young talent. And also, we would like to see they can have more and more good shows, good performance, because for young performers, they are the future. So talking about the youth, so what's their capabilities? Still quite at the initial stage. This is very common, right? They just started. And also, especially for Chongqing, they not really, if you compare to Shanghai, for the people in Chongqing, they not really have that kind of resources to support. So sometimes they even don't know how to really create a group of performance or what really the things they need to create a show, to create a drama. I believe right now we are coming to another quite classic setting. And this is also another show going on here. So I believe this is also another interpretation of a traditional story, Madam White Snake. So you can see the white snake, the green snake, and also the monk. They are the key 3 characters.
副主任他也是卢主任哈，然后卢主任是非常的了解就是南岸区，然后整个的这个文化，然后的成长的这个过程的一位这个领导。那你能给我们介绍一下，就是咱们现在
So talking about the whole development.
有什么说头吗？
So I believe we're right now at a very special place, right? This is called the Qingyun Bridge. So Qingyun Bridge, we talk about. This is also quite distinctive style of the architecture, and this is designed by a foreign artist. We talk about that's a person called Paul Andrew. And this actually a place you can find both the Eastern and Western elements. So we can really talk about a traditional Chinese style of housing, the Chinese style of courtyards, and we talk about actually these all showcase the traditional elements of China, especially in the old days, and we can tell the details, that subtle details is really beautiful and cutting edge. So we talk about an international festival right now take place in this really traditional and historic streets. Actually, this is a place welcome all different kinds of culture, and you also can tell this year we have more than 8 foreign countries participate in this year's drama festival. Actually, that's DNA in Chongqing for a really long time. You can tell from the style of architecture. So moving up, we will see the Wang's compound. And that's also another kind of show. And we want this drama festival to be a name card of Chongqing. And we also want to have some show that are always on the stage around the years, so the audience can always enjoy some show here. And very soon you will see a immersive show that's called Wang's Compound. And a lot of shows actually we're talking about all happen in this 9-floor architecture. So we talk about actually we have that dedication, where we have talk about what kind of show that should happen at which floor. So we talk about Chongqing as a mountain city. This is quite unique landform of Chongqing. And we talk about actually this is the normal daily practice for Chongqing people to climb the mountain. So right now we're coming to the 6th floor. That's a different view right now in front of us. And I believe another street show is on. So I believe this is quite different. I believe this is a different show compared to the one we just saw. And the performance here, this is the disabled artist, and he also creates the art troupes by himself, and he's based in Guangzhou. And talk about for himself right now, he's performing the show called A Day of a Barber. So we talk about private run troupes should have their opportunity to have their performance in front of the audience. And we talk about this kind of a dump show that's already enjoyed quite long history. This kind of show back to 18th century actually quite popular. In the recent years, it's also back to people's attention. So look at actually you do not need any lines. You do not need any interpretation to facilitate the language part. Actually, this is dump show. And right now he's talking about a day of a barber. So you can tell he just wake up. So from his gesture, from his movement, he's telling the story. So we talk about this kind of show. In China, we can actually not really seen in China. We talk about there are a lot of foreign art troupes play dump show in China. And we talk about for a performer himself is a disabled person, and also from his performance actually he's really through this kind of art performance to really encourage the same disabled people to join him, and also actually promote the performance form of dump show. We talk about actually this is really good for the international cooperation, because for the dump show you don't need lines, you do not need to speak, so there's no language involved. Thank you, Director Ran, to really give us a really detailed introduction behind the scene. Thank you so much.
就是我们刚才听了袁导这个一路的这个介绍哈，然后对这次
So Director Yuan actually introduced a lot of story happened behind the International Drama Festival. So we can tell a lot of things actually rich content for this year's drama festival. So we talk about this place actually is the historical site. And for me, the most favorite part and also very famous part for this area is Wang's compound. So for Chongqing, actually, there are a lot of quite a famous place.
回水湾的一些域名，那么他们来自于什么呢？其实就是来自于当时在重庆的这个江边，然后住的这些显赫的世家，然后取得他们的姓。
And we talk about actually back then why we have choose this surname to name this compound, because back then they always come from the enriched families. So for Wang's compound, we can tell Wang's family back then should be the rich family. So here, this is the Wang's compound. Why we call this place in the name, and what's the story behind? So talk about Wang's family. They actually have very important positions. They also did a good job in the trade exchange. So talking about actually trading salt, the Wang's family actually the big name in salt merchant we talk about. And we talk about salt actually is really important, especially in the wartime. So let's find out the secret inside. This is the Wang's compound. We talk about actually Wang's family is really doing a good business in trading salt. So that also made them rich. So we talk about, look at, this is the Wang's compound. It is the architecture or the housing of the Wangs. And we talk about the Wang family actually enjoy the really good tradition and the reputation. And the family actually made great contribution to the southwest part of China. So we talk about the Chongqing merchants. They actually also form the chamber of the commerce, or actually they create a group of merchants in Chongqing. So we talk about they also can consider as the leaders of the merchants in Chongqing. So we talk about this as the style, and we talk about door actually open to the direction of Yangtze River, and as also we talk about the Chinese people, they think about water actually represents the money. So we talk about that's the reason why they make their door open to the river direction. So this is the Wang compound, and this is a quite traditional way. We talk about Siheyuan, that's also the quadrangle courtyard. So they have a lot of people actually lived inside the Wang's compound. You can tell the rich family, and you can tell from all different subtle details that also showcase the wealth of the Wang's family. They are very famous merchant, and they're actually doing a good job in trading salt. And we talk about actually there are a lot of ships happened, the coming back and forth, and a lot of the trade exchange happened. We also have a museum talking about the salt trade exchange. And I also can tell, I can smell the ancients or the history. I can really smell the history. So here is actually showcase the development of salt. So we talk about where the salt come from. From in Chongqing, actually, that's not really from the sea, from the well. So here also showcase how people back then bring the salt to the surface of the well. So how they really can reach that more than 1,000 meters deep underneath. So these kind of tools, so that merchant themselves invented or they bought overseas. They're all invented by themselves. So you can see this is kind of a way they drill the hole. So actually back then I can tell you there are a lot of a salt well. So we talk about salt actually back then is the most favored trading atom. So where the salt could be found, where the trade happened. So you can see the wok, and this is actually the saline or the salt with water actually drilled from the well, and they will basically dehydrate it and had the salt left. So we talk about actually the way of making salt, not really used today. But this kind of way still exists. This kind of using this kind of tools to drill the well and really have the salt coming to the surface. This whole set also actually reserved and even used today in Zigong area. So talk about the different way to have a pure salt. When people use also the steam way. So the different area actually have their own way to have the pure salt. So all these actually show you the different way to have the pure salt. So this is the package to bring the salt from one place to another. So people actually, this will not really spill out. So don't worry too much. And talk about the way of transportation. We talk about the bag of salt. And we talk about different ways to really bring the salt from one place to another. So this is the whole logistic part. back then thought actually managed by the local government. So they have the restrict ways. And actually, if we talk about the person, especially today we're at the Wang's family, then we could tell Wang family had a really good relationship with the government. And we know actually the descendant of Wang's family still live in Chongqing right now. And we also talk about right now one of the Wang's family already 102 years old. And also quite really talented. And still live in Chongqing. And they live in the southern bank. So we talk about the Chongqing actually very famous in trading salt. So the whole museum actually talk about the whole history of salt development in Chongqing, how people really got the salt, and how people transport the salt, how people trade the salt. And Wang's family, we are right now in the Wang's compound. Wang's family also very famous in trading salt. That also make them so rich. So I believe this is another show going on here. So this is the director of the show. So we talk about that this is the immersive show that's happened in the Wang's compound. So what's really your inspiration behind? What's the highlight part of the show? So I came to this compound by the end of last year. So we'll talk about actually the history of the compound, and also the land form really touched me. And actually I checked a lot of materials to study the compound. Actually we talk about actually the spirit of merchant in Chongqing actually all here. We talk about if you want to understand the merchant in Chongqing, then please come here. They really fight for many, many years. And we talk about the whole history of salt. So basically, they split the families, and because they would like to have the family business to continue. And this family not really just doing good business in salt area, and actually they also paid great contribution, also gave the finance support to the government to fight against the enemies. Actually, we talk about actually the whole area because of the Wang's family. They gave the great financial support and also made a great contribution to the Chongqing area. And this area also showcase how Chongqing merchants overcame all different kind of challenges and also paid their contribution to pay back to the people. We talk about to think about the merchant. Actually, the Chongqing merchant not that famous if compared to the other regions' merchants, and we talk about what we want to emphasize is their responsibility of merchant in Chongqing. We also would like to people to know their spirit. We want people to know actually the courage to show their love to the people, really show their responsibilities. And this is what we want to convey from our show. So we talk about although the merchants, but they had that responsibility to safeguard the people, safeguard the region. So the show started from June 7th, and we actually can enjoy the show every day. Right now, our arrangement is we have 2 shows on stage every evening. So for audience, if you would like to enjoy the show, please come here either at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. You will see the show. So one is immersive, interactive show. So let's talk about a love story. So we talk about the loved couple in the wartime. So that's the interactive show. So just now we introduced the Wang's family, one of the family member that's 2 years old. That's also the lady in the show actually. As the original story.
其实刚才我觉得听了这么多这个鱼商的故事，然后听了这么多
So actually we heard the story of the merchant in Chongqing. I'm quite curious to know how many these kind of stories we have at the Southern Bank, or how many stories are available for us to bring them to the stage. We talk about actually South Bank have a lot of historic sites. All these are really the good DNA left by the history. So these all the pearls through the historical sites, all the pearls, no matter from the historical side or from the cultural side, all can be connected. And we talk about here is quite near to the river and also quite close to the Yangtze River. So the Southern Bank right now is also making its efforts to create the cultural demonstration zones. And through our efforts, I believe we can really bring the cultural work to the industrial level. So the Nanbin Street, you will see you can enjoy the historical sites, very beautiful view, and also can enjoy the cultural heritage. Thank you so much. So for our viewers, if you come to Chongqing, please come to Nanbin. So we are right now in front of the Wang's compound, the whole street full of history. So the taste of the history actually really bring you to the back days. Sometimes it's really good for you to really chill out and make yourself separate from your day-to-day busy work, to enjoy yourself back to the history, back to the culture. I believe this is really the beauty of drama. So, and also, I believe this is the place worth to visit. So thank you for watching. Bye for now.